Hello and welcome to another battle replay video by Lord Snake. Today I played as the Dwarfs and my opponent played as the Vampire Counts. My opponent brought to the battlefield a Strigoi Ghoul King on the back of a Terrorgheist as his lord, 2 zombies, 9 units of skeletal warriors, 2 units of skeletal warriors with spears, a unit of fell bats, a unit of Vargheists, 2 units of Terrorgheists, and 2 units of corpse carts with lodestones on the back of them. My dwarf army consisted of my Runelord on foot. I had a master engineer. There's my rune. The master engineer was just over here. I had 3 units of dwarf warriors, a unit of dwarf warrior, unit of renown. I had 4 units of quarrelers, 2 units of slayers, 1 unit of renown for the slayers as well. After that, I had 2 dwarf cannons, and that was my army. So to start off, my opponent wasn't quite within range of my cannons here, but he did start marching his way off towards So now I started taking a few shots at my opponent. So you'll notice the sheer size of my opponent's army in comparison to my own. Dwarfs definitely don't take that many to the battlefield, but what they lack in numbers they definitely make up for in skill. So, before we go any further, just letting you know, my opponent's basically gonna send all of his skeleton army up front to combat my Dawi force, while he sends his flying units off around to the side to come in for a flanking attack. You can see here he cast Invocation of Neheg to regenerate some losses from that cannon fire. And now my quarrelers were finally within range. At about this point, I believe I began the charge very short. There we go. My opponent cast a debuff spell there that affected quite a lot of my troop. You can see his flyers coming in the distance. I had a unit of slayers right here, getting ready to intercept them. some room. And meanwhile, he got attacked by a Terrorgeist. So my opponent pretty much bogged me down with his skeletal troops here and used his Terrorgheists to kind of come in and do some precise strike. And then he quickly pulled them out of combat, as you can see, and got them in the air again. Meanwhile, he sent his Vargheists up over around here, so I moved my Slayers, as you can see, to kind of go and intercept them. My goal was to use the Slayers as kind of my mobile force to kind of go around my army and shield them from the large unit. Well, my army pretty much focused on the skeletons. There you can see another debuff spell is getting cast. There's another invocation of Nehek right there. Basically, my opponent was trying to whittle me down with precise strikes and continue healing his skeleton force. Luckily, though, I was able to pretty much shield myself as best as I could anyway from them. The Dwarfs do make up quite a resilient fighting force in this game, so that's always one good benefit. You can see my lord right there combating one of his Terrorgheists as another one comes in. So it's pretty much at this point that he got a couple of charge attacks in on my general and got him singled out there out of the army. So he decided to quickly jump on that and get all of his big units kind of to separate my main general. Luckily, that was the tanky one with a bunch of defensive runes that I could cast, so I was able to keep him kind of in the game for a little bit. And I didn't target his corpse carts, which was a bit of a mistake on my part, but at the same time, I was just kind of focusing on whittling down the skeletons rather than devastating their line. I like to outlast whenever I play the Dwarfs. And as you can see, quite a lot of his skeletons were at this point crumbled. My general at this point was under half-life. I was still getting some runes off and everything and kind of keeping them in the fight still. Those Runelords are definitely tanky. At about this point, he pulled his general out because he took a little bit of damage. And over on this flank, I began to mop up all the skeletons. I called these guys to kind of do a flanking attack over here on these skeletons. And over here you can see his lords engaging my lord again. He pulled him back into the fight, and I decided to focus his lord with all of my ranged units, so you can see him kind of turning right here to kind of shoot him.
Fire on the ball!
As you can see with the morale gauge at this point, I was kind of losing. And my general, right at this point, is about to die, as well as my opponent's general. They both die off at about the same point. There goes my general. Luckily at this point though, I still had quite a lot of my quarrelers left, so I just kind of started focusing all of his bigger units, including his corpse carts and these Terrorgheists over here. You can see one Terrorgeist already died. There goes that corpse cart over there. That was the last Terrorgeist, and finally the last corpse cart over here. And I was able to squeak out with a Pyrrhic victory in the end. So, a very GG to my opponent, Son of Osiris. I hope you enjoyed that battle about as much as I did. I know I had a lot of fun. And anyway, I hope whoever is watching enjoyed the video as well. Thank you so much for watching, by the way, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night.